Kamala Harris lost also because she didn't say these words. She missed a golden opportunity to show that she's her own leader. She stood back in the shadow of Joe Biden. Had she said these words, she might have won. Think about this. If Kamala had said, hey, I love Joe Biden, I respect Joe Biden, I was proud to serve as his vice president, but when I'm president, I'm going to do these things differently. I'm going to do these 8 things differently. How would have things been? Instead of, oh no, I wouldn't have done anything differently, or I respect Joe Biden and what we've done. No, I would have done this differently. Or in my administration, these are the things that we're going to do differently. It's a key word. But instead, it seemed like a continuation. And I knew things would be different because it's a new leader. It's obvious that it's a new leader. But she didn't say that she would do things differently. And that's a problem. And this isn't about trashing Joe Biden or questioning her loyalty. You can criticize your leader and their positions without being disrespectful. Unfortunately, she deferred and yielded to Joe Biden. And I get it. She was thankful and grateful that he stepped aside and gave her the opportunity to run. But that deference is what killed her. Just that simple statement. I love Joe Biden. I respect Joe Biden. I admire what he did as president, but I do things differently. Just that much distance would be enough to create a lane for herself and give her a path towards a victory. Instead, she stayed glued to his side, playing it safe. And she ended up looking like a follower rather than a leader. And that cost her. And look, this isn't about politics. This is about leadership. This is about stepping into a new role. I'm not the head of my company. I'm not the leader of my own group. But as I ascend and look towards leadership, how do things look for me? So this is a lesson for all of us. If you're in the corporate world, if you're running your own business, it's okay to have constructive criticism. It's okay to say to your boss, hey, I might do things a little bit differently, or hey, have you thought about this? Or if they thrust you into a leadership position, taking that and running. Hey, I appreciate what you've done, and I see that you've gotten this team this far, but I think that this team can go even further if we did this. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying, oh, well, maybe I think we should go in a different direction? This would propel us forward. That's not disrespect, that's leadership. I remember this one time in my banking career, and we were all in a meeting, and one of the senior bankers is just going through and talking about what everyone should do, and everyone is just nodding along. And then they said, are there some questions? And I just couldn't sit there. I had something to add. And I said, I think that you've put together a great proposal, but I think that if we went in this direction, that it might actually be more effective for our client. Now, did the leader accept that? Not necessarily. But there was respect there. I didn't disrespect her and say that, where she was going was the wrong direction or anything like that, or I think that we would be better off in another direction. I spoke up, said my truth, and then she respected exactly what I had to say. Again, she didn't go in the direction that I wanted her to, but I did have her respect. Again, that's leadership. Now imagine this. If Kamala had said, hey, I'm not Joe. Now she did say, I'm not Joe. She could have said, I'm not Joe. I have a vision for this country. It's different than the vision that Joe has for this country. I respect Joe's vision, but it's not my vision. And these are the things that I would do differently. Imagine if she had said that over and over and over again. These are the things I would do differently to propel the economy. These are the things I would do differently to reduce inflation. Not deflation, reduce inflation. Imagine if she had said, hey, if we had done this and not that, we might be better off right now. And if Joe got upset about it, I mean, what's he going to do? Fire her? Fire his VP? It's not going to happen. But the way that she went about it was to just be deferent and agree. And that cost her. All she had to do was say that one phrase, I would do things differently, and maintain that message over and over and over again. But she didn't. And while I see Kamala Harris as a leader, she didn't show up as a leader. She stuck behind Joe Biden as the current president, but she didn't step into the role as a real future president would. She just nodded her head and said, okay, yeah, we did do a good job. Yes, I wouldn't change anything. That's the mindset of a follower, not a leader. The mindset of a leader, as you and I both know, takes some guts. Takes stepping into a position and potentially offending someone in the process. And unfortunately, Kamala wasn't willing to do that to Joe Biden. Leaders aren't afraid to say, I respect you, but I do this differently. And here's the truth. Every new leader is going to do things differently. Every new leader is going to make changes. It's just the name of the game. We're unique individuals. We have our own unique thought processes. And I get it. Everyone's unique. It should be known. But you got to say it sometimes. You got to be vocal about it. I would do things differently. Now I get it. If you were just put in there to mimic the role of the last person, then I'm left to think, well, why are you there in the first place? Are you there just because you're younger? You're just a younger version of the previous person? You're just a younger version of Joe Biden? So now I see you potentially as a puppet of Joe Biden's? That's not a good strategy either. So what have we learned? We've learned leadership versus following. And now I challenge you. The next time you're in a meeting, assuming you're a leader like me, assuming you're not a follower, the next time you're in a meeting and you disagree with your leader, speak up respectfully. I'm not saying that you have to just say, nah, I don't agree. Find a respectful way to say, well, have we thought about this? Or I think this might work if we do it just a tad differently. There's nothing wrong with that. There's respect in that. You gain respect in that. Sitting back and nodding your head and just agreeing to whatever, especially if you disagree. Now, if you agree with everything, there's nothing to be said. But the next time you're in a meeting and you disagree with your leader, find a respectful way to show that you've thought about things differently. You're a part of a company, you're a part of an organization that wants to move forward. And if your leader's a good leader, they won't punish you for speaking up and saying, hey, have we thought about this? Or hey, I think we should do things differently. That's the challenge. Step up, be respectful, say what's on your mind, and let the chips fall where they may. Kamala Harris could have stepped up and said, hey, I do things differently from Joe Biden. And these are the 3, 5, 8, 20 things that I do things differently in my administration, and keep hammering that message home. But she didn't. And that's another reason I think that she lost. She didn't say that she'd do these things differently. And people wanted change. You got to listen to the people. They wanted change. They wanted different. We've already had Donald Trump as president, and he was saying, I'm changing from the last administration. You got to do the same thing. I'm changing how we're doing things in the last administration, even though we're in the same party. This is how I would change what we do at the border. This is how I change putting more money in your pockets. This is how I would change inflation and the cost of groceries. And that's it for today. Let me know what your thoughts are. Well, Kamala lost. She's got a lot of reasons why she lost. I think she was the more qualified person. I supported her, but at the end of the day, she lost. And as a man, as a black man who did support her, I also got to be strong enough. I got to be a leader to say, hey, I do things differently. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button, subscribe, whatever. I'm not in this thing for monetization. I'm here to keep the conversation going. We're high achieving men. Tell me about a time where you stood up to your boss or to your superiors and actually spoke up as a leader. Let's keep this conversation going. What would you have done if you were Kamala Harris? Do you agree that Kamala Harris should have said she would have done things differently? And would that have changed the trajectory of her campaign? And remember, the best leaders aren't here to disrespect. They're here to challenge. And that's how we win. And that's how we high achieve. We're high achieving men. Let's go.